Good afternoon, Ohio. Thank you so much for being here with the Only Citizens Vote bus tour. I'm so glad to be here. We began in Southern California 2.5 weeks ago. We went from California all the way across to North Carolina over this past weekend, Labor Day weekend. We repositioned the bus, and thankfully my team and I got to fly home for a short little while and fly up to Wisconsin, where we began again on Labor Day. And now this is our second stop here today. We are doing this bus tour because we want to see the Save Act passed. We want to make sure only American citizens are voting in American elections. It's pretty simple, and over 80% of Americans agree with us. In fact, when polled, 87% of Americans agree with the statement, only American citizens should vote in American elections for president, Senate, and Congress. Pretty simple concept, pretty common sense. Right now, though, we have a little bit of a problem. The National Voter Registration Act, which we often refer to as the Motor Voter Law, has a form for registering to vote. This is how we are able to vote in driver's license offices through the Motor Voter Law. And that form has a check mark on it, or a check box on it, and the check box is how we determine whether the person voting is a citizen or not. It's just checking a box and saying, yes, I am a citizen. And right now, there are some people who do slip through the cracks, who are non-citizens, who are going to driver's license offices and inadvertently registering to vote. There may be other people who are doing it for nefarious purposes on purpose. Also, there's a real problem in the state of Arizona that affects everyone in the country. This law, because it's federal law, it supersedes state laws. It's higher than state law, so you have to obey what the federal law has. And in the state of Arizona, they require proof of citizenship to register to vote. They have for many years. And they were sued over a decade ago. The Supreme Court ruled that they had to accept voter registrations from the motor voter law with people who just simply checked the box saying they were citizens, even though their state law requires proof of citizenship. So now in the state of Arizona, if you have actually proven you are a citizen, you get a ballot with president, Congress, Senate, governor, lieutenant governor, all the way on down to their most local level of elected office. If, however, in this border state, you have not proven that you are a citizen, you still get a ballot. It's called the federal-only ballot. And you get to vote for president, Senate, and Congress. It's very messed up. Yeah, it's shocking how messed up this is. And I heard about this a few years ago, and then I learned more about it, realized it's because of the National Voter Registration Act, the law I just mentioned. And when the Supreme Court ruled on it, what they said, pretty much they said, Congress, if you want it fixed, then you need to go fix it. If you want to require proof of citizenship, then modify the law to require proof of citizenship. And so that's what we're trying to do right now, is modify the law to require proof of citizenship. Now, President Trump is working to require proof of citizenship on the form, which he can do through executive action. And that is very good, and I hope it stays forever. But we also know that executive actions can be undone by future presidents. So we want to codify this fix and get it corrected and get it passed into law. And that is why we are here today. We found out about the problem from Arizona. And then last year, I began working with Cleta Mitchell from the Election Integrity Network, Speaker Mike Johnson, Congressman Chip Roy from Texas, and Utah Senator Mike Lee, working to get the SAVE Act written and introduced into Congress. It has been voted on twice in the House of Representatives, once last Congress and once this Congress. It has had bipartisan support. This Congress, 4 Democrats voted for it. I know it's not a lot, but 4 Democrats still voted for it. There should be more, because over 75% of Democrat voters, over 75% of independent voters, and over 90% of Republican voters agree that we should require proof of citizenship to register to vote. So they're out of touch with their constituency. The Senate has not yet voted on it. And because they have not voted on it, we decided to do this bus tour to bring attention to the issue, to educate people, and to sign petitions, which we intend to deliver next week when we end the tour in Washington, D.C. on September 10th. And our goal is to get a vote in the Senate and to actually get the bill passed, whether it is passed as a standalone bill or whether it needs to be attached to other legislation in order to get to the 60-vote threshold to end a filibuster in the Senate. And so that is what we're working on. It's a pretty simple concept. It's a very small bill, but it's very important to ensuring the integrity of all of our elections, not just here in Ohio, not just in Indiana or Michigan or Wisconsin or Illinois or Georgia, California, Arizona, but the entire country. And that's what we are after. So thank you for being here. Now you're going to hear from some people in Ohio who also support this effort. And we are going to start with State Representative Josh Williams.
Thank you so much. We're really excited to have the Only Citizens Vote Tour here, right here in Holland, Ohio, my district, right here where we're running for the Congressional 9th District. I think this is so important. I think it's pretty obvious and easy for most Americans. We believe that only U.S. citizens should be voting in our elections. That should be uniform. It should be bipartisan. This should not be a controversial issue. We believe that Americans only should be voting in our elections. We should be deciding what our taxes look like, who our elected officials are, who our president is, and whether or not we're going to war. I think that's essential for every American citizen to take on that charge of voting in our elections and to hear that it's a simple check of a box that could get someone into the voter booth, deciding what is going to happen in our community, deciding whether or not our property taxes are going to get reduced or not, whether or not we're going to eliminate the income tax here in the state of Ohio, whether or not we're going to support school choice, and whether or not we're going to continue to provide the relief that Americans need every single day to make sure government gets their hands out of our pockets and keeps it to themselves, right? We've seen that. And the reason I'm here today is because our own Congresswoman, Marcy Kaptur, who's been in office longer than I've been alive, I'll repeat that. She's been in office longer than I've been alive, refuses to vote in support of this bill. She refuses to support the idea that only Americans should vote in American elections. Well, last time I checked, if I go to Mexico and I go to Canada, I can't vote in their elections. If I can't go to any foreign country, whether I move there or not, I can't vote in their elections. But she expects those millions, tens of millions of immigrants that flooded across the open border because of Biden and Kamala Harris's open border policies, she expects those individuals to be able to influence our elections. See, immigration wasn't an issue before. We saw in 1995, Bill Clinton was tough on immigration right before his re-election. We saw Barack Obama in his first term. He was tough on immigration. And then what happened? 2010 happened, and that census happened, and those Democrat states started to lose population. They lost representation in the House of Representatives, and now they flooded immigrants across the border to account for the next census. Well, we're here to tell you, even if they're here, we're going to, one, deport them, but even if they're here, we're going to make sure they do not vote in our elections. They should not have a say in what our property taxes are. They should not have a say in whether or not we have school choice here in Ohio. They shouldn't have a say in who our president is, and they will not have a say or who is going to be our congressman to represent the 9th Congressional District. So once again, I appreciate the bus tour coming to Holland. I appreciate you guys coming to Lucas County. I wish you guys the best. I see faces from all across the country and all across our state. I appreciate the grassroots effort to make sure only Americans vote. Only American citizens vote in our elections. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much, Josh. And now we're going to hear from former state rep Derek Marin.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon. This is such a great crowd of American patriots that are coming out to protect democracy, protecting our right to vote by ensuring that only U.S. citizens vote in this election. I want to thank the Tea Party Patriots Action for coming here for their bus tour. It's great to have you in Lucas County. Thanks so much for taking the lead on this important legislation, the SAVE Act. Guys, I spent 8 years in the state legislature in Ohio. I focused on election integrity. I was one of the original co-sponsors of photo ID before it was popular. We finally got that passed, and that was a great step forward to help improve our election integrity in Ohio. But guess what? It's not good enough. We still have problems. There's still loopholes. And the Tea Party Patriots have identified one of the loopholes. And it's too easy for people to get registered to vote that aren't citizens and then to vote in federal elections, potentially changing the whole balance of power of our federal government and jeopardizing our rights. Once someone gets on the register to vote, once they get on the voter rolls, folks, it's very difficult to stop them from voting. They've won the battle once they register to vote for the most part. So what the SAVE Act does is it says you're going to show proof of requirement that proof that you're actually a U.S. citizen. Is that too much to ask? For one time, before you register to vote, prove that you're a U.S. citizen? That's not too much to ask. And that's what this bill does. We cannot have California, New York, and a bunch of liberal state legislators allow and make it easy for non-citizens to get on their voter rolls and then for them to influence the presidential election, U.S. Senate elections, and U.S. congressional elections. We can't have it. That's why the SAVE Act is so important. If I was in Congress, I would have voted for it. Our Congresswoman, Marcia Kaptur, she votes against it. How can you vote against a bill that says all we want to do is ensure election integrity? And they say, well, this never really happens. What are they talking about? We found non-citizens on voter rolls in every single state in America. Every single state they found them on. It may be a small amount here or there, but they found them. So obviously there are gaps in systems. You can't have a completely perfect system, but we got to keep trying because we certainly don't have a perfect system. That's one of the reasons I'm running for Congress. Thank you guys so much for your leadership. Hope I can get there to help support you guys. Everyone needs to go to their website, sign the petition, and let's push this through and have a strong voice in Ohio and help pressure the United States Senate to pass this bill. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Now we're going to hear from Barbara Orange, who's the county party chairman here. And wow, thank you so much for hosting us. Thank you for helping with us. You've got a lovely place. Thank you so much for having us here.
Well, thank you for coming. We really appreciate what the Tea Party Patriots are doing. We agree as Republicans, only citizens should vote. That's just common sense. Our country was founded on bringing people here. You become a citizen and then you vote. So we're really honored to be able to host this event in Ohio, the only one in Ohio, and we thank everybody from coming out because I know we have several states represented here. Thank you so much, and thank you for our candidates for the 9th, Josh Williams and Derek Marin. Thank you all for coming out. We look forward to getting involved and getting this SAVE Act passed within the Senate. Thanks so much. Have a good night.
Okay, thank you so much, Barbara. Now you're going to hear from Marissa Hamilton, who is from Arizona. She's with a group called Easy AZ, and she's also here helping Tea Party Patriots Action. She's going to talk a little bit about what's going on in Arizona and why it matters to get this right across the entire country, and then give you some calls to action. She's not the last speaker. We have a couple more, but I wanted to go to her so you can hear the calls to action next.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Marissa Hamilton, and as Jenny Beth said, I'm from Arizona. Now, we discovered that this issue is something that really has to be solved at the federal level, like she said, because we changed our law in Arizona years ago, really decades ago, to require proof of citizenship in order to vote. But what's interesting was that we found out once we got a new recorder in this year that we don't really have real documentary proof of citizenship to vote in Arizona. Unfortunately, what we discovered was that there's just a checkbox flag, a data flag, that goes to the recorder's office from the motor vehicle division saying we super swear we got documentary proof of citizenship. Now, that would be all well and great, except for the fact that what happened last year is we found that there was a glitch in the system. There was 200,000 voters that were identified as having never shown proof of citizenship to vote. And so the courts ruled that those voters would need to provide proof of citizenship eventually, but that in that last election that we just had, that they would be allowed to vote a full ballot. The problem with that was that the first person that was identified was a non-citizen that had been registered to vote. And then right after the 200,000 were identified, the news did another media piece saying, identifying that there was another non-citizen